another month of bullet journaling and list making and not writing down any plans because we can't go outside is done. I thought I'd take this time to do just a candid flip through of the month. I personally find that my bullet journal actually changes all the time, so this is just kind of a video where I'm going to show you what's changing this month, what's changing next month, what have I been enjoying this month, and kind of give you guys a more candid look at my bullet journal versus just the formal setups, which are obviously not really a realistic look at what I use this for every day since I only use those once a month. So before I go into actually my casual flip through of April, I thought I'd do a quick rundown of my actual journal itself in case you're new here or you just aren't familiar with what I have here, which is totally understandable because I feel like I never talk about it. So this is actually my bullet journal. I know it looks a little different than the usual bullet journals you see. The cover I have is a beautiful leather color by Giulio. It's the B6 Appunto in the undyed leather. So that pretty much just means that I have a bit of a smaller journal. It is B6 size, which means it's about 5x7. And my actual journal is this guy right here. This is a Stalogy 365 editor series notebook. I do have a full video going over this notebook, which I will link in a card, but pretty much this notebook is also smaller. It's 5x7 and it has 368 pages, which I really like because that means I can use one notebook every year, which just makes my life easier and I don't have to keep setting up yearly spreads, which is awesome. So let's flip to April. I like to start my month by marking it off with one of my little bookmarks here. Makes my life a little easier and it makes it easier to flip to it, which is really nice. The first kind of thing that changed in this notebook, or I guess really this is my biggest fail, I'm kind of exposing myself, is if you saw my April setup, then you saw me make this quarantine check-in spread. And I had intentions to fill this out with how I'm feeling, but obviously, as you can see, that didn't get filled out, so it was kind of a fail. I'm not the best when it comes to writing down my feelings and hashing out my feelings and being one with the feelings. It's something I'm working on, and that kind of also has to do with another change I made this month, which is starting a daily journal, which has been really helpful for me to kind of start to move into the same home as my feelings, if that makes sense. But unfortunately, this guy did not get filled out, but it was really fun to make regardless, and I have no regrets. But yeah, not every spread I make gets actually used. That's kind of part of life, and I don't really worry about it too much. I just kind of laugh at it and then move on. Another thing I made for April, which I thought was fun, was I made a little photo collage memory spread. I did this with my photo printer. I have the HP Sprocket. As you can see, the photo quality is a bit funky, but regardless, I really like how it turned out. And this was a really fun spread to make. I used my stamps, which I actually have right here. If you don't know what this box is, it actually holds all of my stamps. Hopefully you can see that there in the corner. This was a fun spread to do, and it made me realize that I like doing photo spreads, but it's not something that I want to continue doing in this journal because the photos kind of leave lumps in the pages, which makes writing a little more difficult. So that also did spark the change in adding another journal. So I did actually add 2 journals this month, a kind of longhand journal and a memory journal. And I will actually be going into these in a separate video purely on my journal setups. So do stay tuned for that. But that was kind of another thing that happened this month, was kind of discovering something new and then setting up a notebook for it, which is fun. I guess it's a good point to mention as well that I don't like to do everything in my bullet journal. Personally, for me, I do like to keep a little bit of separation between my longhand journaling, my memory journaling, and then my actual bullet journal. And that's just for me kind of keeping work and personal life a little separate. I'm going to cover some of this one because it does go into my goals in a lot of detail, and that is a bit more private. But here is my Q1 goal recap spread. I actually filled this one out, so self 5 to me. but I liked and I also didn't like this spread actually. I loved this side, which was a place for me to kind of do a bit of a glance at what happened during the month. What did I read? Who did I see? What did I eat? Stuff like that. But I only left one page for goals, and that really wasn't enough. So when I finally get around to figuring out my quarter 2 goals, I will leave a bit more room. But this is kind of how this spread looked filled out, and I was happy to kind of look at the progress I did make on my quarter 1 goals, which was really, really nice. Oh, another thing I actually made, this was a very helpful spread this month, was I made a project spread. Projects can be tricky for me because I'm very good at starting projects and I'm even better at not actually finishing them. So what I tried to do for this spread was have obviously just a simple list of my projects, but I also on the left-hand column create a space to kind of create a level system. So kind of like a video game where you have like each level up is increasingly hard. I gave my projects 3 possible levels, 1, 2, or 3. And this kind of allowed me to see which projects might not be as difficult to complete. They might be a bit easier, such as repotting my plant. That's a level 1 project that literally takes 10 minutes. And this actually really helped me get going on a couple of my projects because I tricked myself into thinking that they wouldn't take very long to do. So that was actually quite successful and I really liked that. Another thing I actually started doing, I think this was the second week I did this, was I switched from doing weekly spreads and daily spreads to just doing this kind of weekly daily hybrid. I believe this is called a rolling weekly, but I also think it might be called a rolling daily, so I will maybe put it on the screen if I figure it out. But this was really helpful for me because I was able to have my task list for the week, but I was able to kind of record events as the day went on because I don't really have that many events to schedule right now. So I don't need a section in a separate spread to record all that. I do also have a plan with me on this, but this spread was actually really fun to come up with, and I think I'll keep using this even after quarantine. So this has been a really nice find. This is probably the best thing that happened so far in April in regard to bullet journal discoveries, of course. One thing I also want to mention is since it's now just my dailies and I don't use a weekly, when I reference events, what I will do now is when I make the day, I'll check my to-do list, see if I have any tasks for that day. I'll write them down. Then I'll actually flip to my monthly calendar, and that will be where I will check for any events or appointments. Since I don't have that weekly anymore that acts as that place of reference, it's now my monthly spread. So I've just kind of eliminated one spread, which is a little bit easier since I don't really need it right now. And besides that, another thing I guess I should mention is I did start to record when during the week I did certain types of workouts. This was just so I could keep track of how many times I'm doing what, so I'm not accidentally doing 1 leg workout a week, and also I'm not doing 4 leg workouts a week, because that would be horrible. So that was really helpful too, just recording that at the bottom of my task list. And that actually brings us to May. I left a couple pages blank because I did set up my May pages a little earlier than normal because I wanted to get the plan with me out for you guys. So I do have these 2 blank pages, which I'll hopefully use for some other spreads. And now that I've gone through a couple of pages in my April spreads that were new and that I really enjoyed, I thought I would now go through a couple supplies or new things I've been using this month that I've been really liking. So the first thing I obviously thought I would mention is this lovely pen that I have right here. So this is just a standard Muji gel pen in the 0.5 size. I have a bunch of these stashed in my room and I wanted to give them a try again. Previously, I had been using a felt tip pen, which was a Stadler pigment liner, which was really good and I really liked it. But I just found that with any type of felt tip pen, they start to kind of wear down and it changes the appearance of your writing. So for this month, I decided to go back to using a gel pen and I've been really enjoying it. And I have a bunch of them in my room, so I figured I might as well use them. Another pen that I've been really liking actually lately is this one. This is the Tombow Funosuke hard tip brush pen. So this is the one that you get in the 2-pack that's a lot more stiff. The soft tip is a lot more flexible. I've been really loving this pen actually for all the lettering that I do on my dailies. So I go in with a hard tip every day and I write the day of the week in short form. And this pen has been awesome for that. I've been pretty much using this one exclusively with the soft tip and really enjoying it. So that has been something I've been really loving in April as well. Oh, another thing I thought I would mention, this one's quite new actually, is in the back here of my agenda, or my cover, I have this little moleskin that I got. And this moleskin is just a pocket-sized plain kaye, and it is just a place for me to write down random lists and random notes. Like this one was like some ideas for an Instagram grid pattern. I have some sketches for my May setup where I just kind of brainstorm stuff. I have some color swatches, just like kind of random stuff that I want to jot down that comes across my mind. I almost think of this like what I would write on a sticky note, but all the sticky notes are bound into a little notebook so they don't get lost, because I'm very good at losing loose paper. So I've been keeping this in the back of my cover and just enjoying that for writing down random lists. So those were my favorites for April. Going into May, I really wanted to try doing some black and white pen only setups for May and really try to minimize and refine my journal going into the next month. I've been finding personally in these uncertain times, that's just been something I've been naturally gravitating towards. So I wanted to kind of go with it. And because of that, a couple of my setup spreads did change. One of the big ones actually was my habit tracker. Previously I'd use like a marker to mark off the habits, but now I actually plan to just use my Funosuke and highlight the habits that are done with this so it's all black. I think it'll actually look really cool when it's done, but I will update you guys on Instagram with the filled out spread once I do it. And then besides that kind of pull towards more minimal spreads, I thought I'd share with you guys a couple spreads that I want to make this month. I do like to keep a list of some spread ideas that I have that I want to do. So here are a couple spreads I'm thinking of making this month. I really want to make a grid spacing spread. I've seen these everywhere and they look really cool, but I never thought I really needed one. But lately, I've been having to measure out halves and thirds on my page, so I feel like it's time to just make a grid spacing spread and make my life easier. I also really want to make a spread that holds all my Myers-Briggs type info and my Enneagram info. This will probably be separate, but I am a ESTP-A, I believe, and I am a type 7 wing 8 Enneagram, if you guys know of those personality type tests. So I do want to make a little spread that records information about my type so I can just have one place to reference it. I also need to do my Q2 goals. I've been kind of putting that off naturally because of what's going on in the world, but I do want to figure out a plan for those and maybe reassess my goals and make them a bit more doable considering what we're going through right now. And then finally, I really want to make a when I'm bored, what can I do instead of watch TV spread, because Netflix has been present in my life a little more than I want it to be, and I just want to see if there's maybe a couple things I could be doing instead of watching Netflix sometimes that I might find more enjoyable. So that is my April recap. I hope you guys found this interesting. I've never really done one of these videos before, but I just thought it'd be a nice candid way to go through what's happened in the month and give you guys a bit of an update on how my bullet journal is looking so you can actually see what's going on in it versus the monthly spreads I do every time. So I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you all are safe and healthy, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.